Welcome to Why Your Business is Invisible Online, the podcast that connects businesses online with the people they want to serve. Joining me are my two co-hosts, and here they are.
I'm Jim Filatico. When I'm not helping my clients grow their businesses online, you can find me traveling with friends and family.
Hi, I'm Kelly Biggs, and I'm the AT alien of the group. I love hanging with friends and family, and when I'm not doing that, you can find me on Peloton. I've clocked over 2,000 rides so far.
And I'm your host, John Manatas from Oakville, Ontario, Canada, with my guitar in hand, my Wi-Fi on life support, but always in tune with my clients. Okay, welcome to Why Your Business is Invisible Online. It's the show that connects businesses online with the people they want to serve. I'm here with Jim and Kelly. We've gotten to know them a little bit. Today we're going to spend some time getting to know all of us a little bit more, and then we're going to dive deep into some really interesting topics that we know you have had to deal with, and we believe we have some of the remedies and things that'll help you out. Let's kick it off a little bit, where we're from, where we spend all of our days. I'm just going to kick it off by saying I'm the sort of odd one out of the bunch. Both Jim and Kelly are in the U.S. I'm from Canada, just outside Toronto in the town of Oakville. Good news is all the rumors about Canada are wrong. We're not in a frozen kind of tundra, polar bears walking in the streets and so forth.
I don't know. January of 2020.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Beg to differ. Yeah.
Yeah. It's changed. It's changed. I promise you guys. Next time you're up here, I will definitely promise you some heat, and we're enjoying a great summer. I am the, the representative, the local representative of WSI, which you see in the background here for all of us. The WSI is our home office, and our home office location is in Canada. Thought it was important just to establish where we're all from. So Jim and Kelly, tell us a little bit about your part of the world.
I am from hot Atlanta, but don't call it hot Atlanta because then everybody will know that you are in fact a visitor. We call it the A, we call it ATL. Nobody calls it hot Atlanta anymore because kind of like you, John, it's just not as hot as it used to be. But I fell in love with Atlanta actually when I went to school at University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I'm a Vol. Go Vols. Go Big Orange. All of the things. SEC, the only conference there is out there in college football.
For us Canadians, Vols is volunteers, right?
Volunteers, yes,
okay,
yes.
Got it.
Volunteers like, I didn't even know what it was before I went there, but volunteers like Davy Crockett volunteer for the volunteer army. So wearing a muskrat hat, like all like as country as you could possibly get. But anyway,
got it.
I'm originally from Roanoke, Virginia, the Star City of the South. If you know, you know. And so went to University of Tennessee. Turns out Atlanta is only 3 hours from the University of Tennessee. I fell in love with it when we would go visit. Like the city is just something to love. And again, I'm going to date myself here. Like that was when the peak of Freaknik was happening. And I was like,
Freaknik? What's Freaknik?
Again, I'm going to say, if you know, you know. We can talk about it later. But there's a documentary on it.
It's like the Burning Man, right? Something to do with like the Burning Man celebration in down south.
Not exactly. It's not exactly. But anyway,
I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. Long story short, I would go down, visit, fell in love. I was like, I'm going to move there. And then the opportunity presented itself to me about 20 years ago, and I never looked back. So. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah. But don't worry. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So
That's right. Well, I can tie into that because I lived in Atlanta for about 7 years. I did experience Freaknik, and I also experienced the Olympics there. So you can tell when we were there. But moved my family down there for a corporate job. But I grew up in Northern Illinois. A few 5 or 6 years ago, moved up to Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, a resort area. actually a resort area for the Chicagoland area. So when you drive through Lake Geneva, it's all Wisconsin or Illinois plates, no Wisconsin plates. But moved up there for a while, but now live in Cincinnati, Ohio, because again, I'm aging myself, but my grandkids are here. So the great thing about digital marketing is you can live wherever you want to live, basically, and take care of your clients via Zoom, which is kind of what we're doing now.
Exactly.
So that's my story too.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jim. Because before the Blue Jays had a team here in Canada, because Canadians didn't have a team forever. I was a huge Cincinnati Reds fan, so I definitely got to come down there at some point and catch a game with you. I still have a spot for them in my heart. I think and they're a pretty good team now to watch.
Yeah, 20 minutes from my house, so it's easy to get there.
Awesome. So we'll definitely do that. And just to round up my bio, in terms of schooling and all that kind of stuff, I went to, just because of how close it was, I used to live like 10 minutes away from the University of Toronto. So graduated from there, and nothing I studied had anything to do with digital marketing. But over the years, working through many years in corporate business life with an investment management firm, led me down this path to marketing and naturally to digital marketing. And so a lot of that background is going to come to play in our discussions going forward. Loving it here now, about an hour out of Toronto in a little town called Oakville, right by the lake. And we chose it because it was just a great place to raise four kids who aren't kids anymore. All of them are adults, and we're still having a good time. Waiting hopefully for a few marriages and a bunch of grandkids to take care of. Jim's already there with on the grandkid side.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm afraid I might not be. My daughter has no interest. No. But, John, you talked about university. So, my husband is from Canada as well. And so you guys are very particular about whether you went to university or college, which I soon learned. Like here is like they're basically the same word. We use them synonymously.
Oh,
right?
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But they're
just like part of the name.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's like we'll say, "Where did you go to college?" And then, and I'm talking to somebody from Canada. They were like, "I went to university."
That's
Sorry.
so true. That is so true. Yeah, it's not an insult to go to college. College usually is your focus is, you want to get into some specific trade. In fact, I think they're much more practical than a lot of universities. So as soon as you come out of college, you're ready to work. Whereas a lot of universities, you got a lot of theoretical nonsense in your head that you got to shake out before you actually get down to work somewhere. So I get it. Yeah, Rowan would definitely understand that.
Yeah.
University.
Well, I have to shout out I went to University of Illinois, so another orange color. And I started out as bio pre-med. I was going to be a doctor. And then I went to my first bio 110 class and said, sales. I think I'll go into sales.
Selling medical equipment.
What kind of a leap was that?
It was huge. Yeah. But it was very easy to make that leap once I didn't do well in bio pre-med, and then ended up getting a master's in marketing, actually. So
you're in the right place then.
Pointed in the right direction anyway.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. I didn't know that about you, Jim, because that's what I started doing too. I mean, I sort of held on to a certain point. I did graduate with a bunch of knowledge around human biology, human physiology, human nutrition, blah, blah, blah. And then took a major twist in life right after that to get into the corporate world of investments and financial services and all that kind of stuff. So that's another story for another day.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can add a little bit. So part of the reason why I changed is I went home, if it was Thanksgiving, my uncle's a gastroenterologist, and he invited me to go on an emergency call. And legally or illegally, I'm not sure, I was able to use a learner scope while he was doing a procedure.
Oh, wow.
And the nurses had to help me out of the room because they thought I was going to pass out. So that may have helped me move over to economics.
Yeah. That's funny.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious.
So you don't faint anymore at the sight of blood. You're good.
No, I'm good, but I stay away from it.
Okay. Awesome, everybody. Okay, so we'll have these little tidbits as our series progresses. But let's talk a little bit about what we consider over the years. We've learned a ton, and we've applied a ton of our knowledge. But what do we consider to be our, let's call it superpower, things that, work for you every time, just because that's the way you guys tackle any kind of problem. And then just for fun, since the three of us know each other reasonably well, why don't we go around the horn where each of us tries to add to that list. So I would, like, for example, say, Kelly, thanks for that, but I think your superpower is also this other thing, because that's what I've seen over the years. I think that would be pretty cool as well. So, Jim, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you think, besides some of your medical techniques, what are your superpowers?
Exactly.
What are your superpowers?
Well, I don't know how super it is, but one of the things I learned, probably not early enough, but early enough, I guess, in my career, was never respond immediately, never fire back at things. I had a couple of great mentors, sales managers, VPs of sales, before I rose to those roles. But one of them taught me to always hesitate, take a break before you reply back on an email, before you call somebody back. Take a break, think about it, and then respond. Because if you respond with emotion, it's only going to get worse. And I had to learn my lesson a few times with difficult customers. So that's one I think that I've learned, and I've really tried to instill in my family to save, family issues as well. But so that's one. The other one too, the other one that I think I really kind of lean into a lot, and we've talked about it before, is just strategy. I went kicking and screaming through lean training, Pareto principle and all that, and had to do strategy a lot in my corporate life. And so I'm able to bring that expertise or that experience or whatever you want to call it to these small and mid-sized businesses that I'm helping now. And so I'm not just providing tactics. I'm really looking back, and I can ask those questions about, is it profitable? Just, do you want that customer? Are you sure you want that customer? Is it profitable, or are you just chasing the top line? And I think they appreciate that, and they take that as value, and I become kind of part of their board of directors, so to speak, even if it's a one-man band or a husband and wife team or whatever it is. And so I think that's one thing I bring that makes me different anyway, not better, but just different, I guess, than other digital marketing agencies and different people that they work with, that they, provide services for, is that I help them do that. And so I've always looking at it from that lens. And so I'm not going to spend their money stupidly, I guess.
Yeah. Like in corporate life, for sure you had to use that day in, day out. Are you finding in the world of digital marketing that a lot of the clients, whether they're small, medium-sized, or large, are you finding you have to use a lot of those skills that you just talked about often?
If you're looking out for the best interest of the client, yes. Yeah. Right? You don't have to. Someone will, a lot of times people say, I want SEO, or I want this, I want that. And it's like, okay, I can do that, but that's what everybody else does. And are you sure that's what you need? And so if you take that step back, take the extra time to speak with somebody, I think that helps a lot. And some people really appreciate it. And then some people are like, you're just trying to make more money off of me. It's like, no, I'm really not. I'm, half the time I give it away for free, giving them advice. Yeah. So anyway.
That's a huge point. Yeah, I agree. I think we give a lot of that out for free just because, you know what, we're paying it forward. We've learned a lot in our lifetimes, and we have a ton of experience. It just comes off our tongue, just off the top of our head now. So, and
it comes back. It definitely comes back around.
I think so. Yeah. They pay it back. Absolutely. How about you, Kel?
If I can circle back, let me, I want to say what I think Jim's superpower is.
Okay. And yeah. Perfect.
In the spirit of, we're coming off of a political season. I don't know if you remember, you probably do, years back. Remember how they would say George Bush was W. People wanted to have a beer with you. I think Jim has this superpower of putting people at all kind of ease, right? And also really smart intellectually is able to then say, okay, as we're popping over this beer, now let's roll up our sleeve and look at this like kind of behind the scenes. To me, that ends up being one of his superpowers. I agree, he's very measured, which is what he highlighted. But definitely, I think that there's this ability to get really comfortable with him.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jim, I mean, from my perspective too, that to me is, I think you do it better than anybody. Probably maybe you had a lot of practice at home, but you wait to listen to a lot of the other people's opinions whenever we're talking about any topic. And then you'll step in and add value. You'll have thought about what everybody said, and then say, okay, this is where I can add my piece and make this thing move forward to a better place because of, again, your experience. And you've obviously learned how to pause, go for a walk, think about something, but now you do it while you're just listening. You're just there in the room listening to everybody. And I think that's hard to do. Most people tend to just want to jump in and add value right away and have their say. You don't do that. You do take the time to listen to everybody. So yeah, appreciate that too.
Well, I do too. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right, Kel. Yeah, let's talk about what you think your superpower is. Then we'll add. Yeah, then Jim and I will add a couple of 2 cents.
Okay, I'm going to start it off with a story.
Okay.
So like I said, grew up in the Star City of the South. That's Roanoke, Virginia. We sit in a valley. Like around us, it's just all mountains wherever you're sitting in. Beautiful. It's very beautiful. But I grew up with a sister who's 2 years older and super, super, super smart, straight A student, like really bright, went to Northwestern, went to UNC, just super bright. And so from very beginning, she and I would play board games. I remember one summer, that was when your parents would be like, go out on the porch and don't come back in till you want to stay in kind of thing. So the whole entire summer, she and I played together, like just board games, Monopoly, Spade, like you named it, we played. I have been accused of being the most competitive person people have ever met before in their lives. Like it stayed with me, her too, by the way. In fact, this may or may not be true. I've played taboo with people who will never play with me again. I've, obviously that works really well in sales because in sales, I kind of fell into it kind of the same as you. I went to business school when I went to University of Tennessee. Finance was my area of focus. So I didn't stray away from that. They didn't really have sales classes per se, right? You just went to business school and then you found out about this career called sales. But the thing about sales is you bet on yourself, right? Like I loved it because it's very objective, right? You either made your number or you didn't. And so that to me ends up then being my superpower for my clients. Like you work with, I will not let your business fail. Like we will figure this out. If you're not winning, I'm not winning. And that's not going to happen, right? I have this firm belief that whatever your biggest strength can also be your biggest weakness, right? And so I have been able to, like the Kelly that was at IBM trying to win the highest sales awards is different than the Kelly that's helping our clients because that just wouldn't quite work that way. You looking at boards every day, how do we do? But it does help with analytics, helps with measuring. So I think your biggest strength often becomes your biggest weakness. So I will, to Jim's point of being measured, sometimes I'll step back and say, wait, well, hold on a second. Which Kelly is showing up to this? Like, let's pull back. How important is it? Do I have to win? As I've gotten older, is how can everybody win? Not just how can I win? And so anyway, that's what I would say.
Do you find your clients have, I don't know if they actually play that back to you. Have they figured out how much you really care about winning for them? Are your clients noticing that? Or is it sort of subtle that they don't really notice it? Or do they feed it back to you directly? Do they know how much you want them to succeed?
I feel like they do, but it's a good question for me to maybe run by them one time. I feel like they know I'm in their corner, right?
Mm-hmm. You and Jim, you and Jim have great net promoter scores. So your clients clearly are sensing how much you care about them winning. Otherwise, they're not going to give you perfect scores. So I think it's sort of there. But that's
I'll take that.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
so
I'll
Jim,
take it.
Jim, let's add what we think are Kelly's superpowers in addition to that, or maybe that as well.
It's funny because I was thinking the exact same thing Kelly said, and I look at it. I think I have a little bit different perspective of it, though. Is that she cares so much. There's this old sales thing where you don't sell somebody, help them buy. Right. And so it takes you from being across the desk from one another to sitting next to them. And that's probably very old school, but that's what I see Kelly as, is that she doesn't sit across the desk from her clients. She sits next to them and she works with them because she's competitive, because we know she is.
Yeah.
And because she's like a dog with the bone. And on top of that, it's, we'll talk about a subject and she'll have all this information. And it's like, where do you find the time in the day to learn all this stuff on top of everything else you do? So she's so focused on learning. And it's great to say, I know that, but it's also, you can tell that it's because of helping somebody else out, helping her client out. So in a very nice way, she's a dog on a bone, but it's all about helping her clients. And I think you don't give yourself enough credit for the fact that you're really doing it for them. You're doing it for you too, but you do it for them first.
Yeah.
And because of that, you'll reap the rewards, right? The monetary rewards. You already reap the rewards of having good relationships with them. So that's what I think, to kind of not really give a new one, but to really kind of emphasize that one.
Yeah. I mean, I'll jump in with something similar, but a little different. I want to tell you guys a bit of, and you guys remember this. We didn't know each other at all when we started WSI, and we were around that table and we started training. So I didn't know Kelly or Jim. And it didn't take long to know that Kelly was strong, smart, competitive. That was clear right out of the gate. And in the end, Kelly won. There was some kind of award at the end. I forget what it was exactly called, but it was like the most likely to succeed in our group. And Kelly won it hands down. And I think she won it not only because you have that competitive nature. I think that was the underlying thing. What was interesting to me as I got to know you in our training session was you have this natural, I'm going to call it a need to help. You always stepped in, even when we were struggling, like with some new topic in digital marketing during our training. You would always step in and say, "Oh, here's how I can help you guys. Try this or try that." Even though in the background you might have been competing to be number one in the end, it didn't matter. You put that aside. Your primary concern was trying to help all of us out in some of the mini assignments they were giving us. And I see that even when the three of us meet every week and talk about different things and share stories and try to solve each other's problems, you're always the first one that has, here's a new tool out there in the marketplace with digital marketing, and this is how it works, and this is how it can help us. Let's try this. You're always offering up new ideas, new tools, anything that can help. And clearly, from also what Jim substantiated was that you do it with your clients. You're always looking for, that right tool, that right digital marketing idea that's going to help. It's going to help you too in the end, but it helps them build their business. And so it's a natural tendency, which I think is a superpower. No question about it.
Oh, wow. Okay, I got to write these down.
Let's be clear, though. She did have an extra vote because Rowan was at the training.
That's very true.
I'm just saying.
That's very true. That's very true.
Yeah.
However, I think he was the only one that didn't vote for me.
Yeah. It could have been a liability. You never know.
Yeah, Jim, we got to bring our wives to the next training session,
right.
Whatever that is. So, okay.
John, that's up to you. It's on you. What's your superpowers? Huh?
Yeah, I think, something I grew, I guess, over the years working in for a corporate investment management company. But a lot of this was built because even though I started off in project management, which was a good way to start these superpowers to sort of kick them off. A big part of my career was in customer service, running about a 200-person contact center for quite a while. And this poor contact center, when they gave it to me, they said, they rank 15th in the country out of 15. Like, they were the worst contact center in the country. And so I said, okay, yeah, give it to me. I go, give it to me. We're going to figure it out. It's going to be a challenge, but we're going to figure this thing out.
Wow.
And so immediately you have to move into customer service mode and try to understand why are they so bad. And so that to make a long story short, that was the impetus or the catalyst that got me moving towards always, whenever I face any problem now, I always put the end point in mind and I work backwards. I try to
with the end in mind.
Yeah,
you said that. Somebody says it. I don't know, but 100%.
That's who I am now, and I work backwards and try to almost put the Lego pieces in my mind, knowing that they're still far off, but then I know what to do next, and I know roughly what the 3 or 4 pieces after that are to get to number one. That was critical in my thinking, so I would say that's become a superpower, and understanding quality. So every step of the way, quality, value, I better give some kind of value or ROI, whatever you want to call it, in every step. Otherwise, there's no point. People aren't going to jump on board unless they see incrementally that you're adding value as you're moving to that end point. And the last superpower, I guess, that I've adapted as part of my philosophy came from a handyman who told me this once, and it stuck. And basically, yeah, this guy's amazing. He fixes everything in our house whenever things break down. But one of the first times he met us, his philosophy is they're really every problem you encounter, don't look at it as an obstacle and stop pulling your hair out and whatnot. He said the most successful people in life, he said, are the ones that are adaptable, that just look at the problem and say, okay, how can I adapt to this situation and turn the negative into a positive? And that's how I do things now. I try to find the good in a bad situation every time. There's always I know people, it's a cliche to say there's a silver lining everywhere, but there really is. And now that I've tried to push myself that way and say, okay, yeah, this sucks, but we're gonna find a way to figure it out. So I would say that's what's become sort of a superpower for me. And keep the end in mind, add value, and this thing about being adaptable in every situation.
All of those are great. And I definitely would say I've seen each of those qualities in the way that you approach not just your clients, but also our friendship, right? Always, I don't think I've ever walked away where I don't feel that conversation wasn't valuable ever. And so I think that that's important. But one of the things I always say, and I'll tell you when it came out. I remember we were working on this project for this client, all of us, including our friend.
With Vic.
Mm-hmm.
Vic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we were building a website for this client that, they're super smart people. They were for doctors, right? They're doctors from Dartmouth, nonetheless. And, they had this really cool new tool. I don't even know if we're still under NDA on it, so I won't go too far on it. But I remember we would do, when we were doing, I would do a PowerPoint that I'm super proud of, right? And me and Jim probably would be like, okay, let's go. That's good to go. Let's roll. But John would look at every single word on every single deck and say, is this really what we want to say here, guys? Same thing with the website. I swear, I don't think you've ever built a website with a typo on it. And because you were you read and reread and reread, and to the point of adding value, even before we would present something to the client, you would be, listen, we will look dull if we send this the way that it may have came back to us from one of our partners or suppliers. And so I think that kind of thing just stands out It's really hard to find. And I think being thoughtful and meticulous are your superpowers that stood out to me anyway.
Yeah, thanks. It's, like you said, strength and weakness. You can be too anal sometimes with details. So I've had to learn to curb that over the years. But yeah, that definitely is me. But thank you. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I was thinking about the same situations with John when we were thinking about this. And I think the other thing that comes out on top of that is just how creative he is. And we didn't know until recently that, he was in a band and
right.
And that kind of stuff. And so when we saw the video of him in the band, it's like, okay, now it makes sense. Because, you think about a corporate, buttoned up kind of guy. And then he does that. And then thinking back on the projects we've worked on and how creative he is and how, out there in some cases that he really is able to go there. And I'm not that, I don't feel like I'm that creative, and John is super creative. And so that to me is a superpower that you don't expect, I guess. You know what I mean? If you think about background and what you did in corporate and that kind of thing. And when you run a marketing group, when you run that, you don't have to be creative. You have people for that, right? So the fact that you are that creative is amazing. And on top of that, and you mentioned it, but your positive attitude. You have a wonderful positive attitude about everything, and that helps us because those Friday meetings can sometimes get pretty dark and aggravating, and so you always help us get off the cliff, so to speak. But yeah, I think both of that, but I agree with what you're saying as well. It obviously stands out. So.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, no, that's good. I think I think that's what makes us a good team. What all of us bring to the table is so diverse that it keeps the glue. We have the glue that gets us moving forward. That was awesome, guys. And I think again that'll help our listeners definitely get a sense of the kind of power and energy we can bring to any issue. And that wraps up another episode. My name is John.
This is Jim.
And I'm Kelly. Thanks for joining. Hey, don't forget to subscribe.
Thank you for tuning in to Why Your Business is Invisible Online. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do us a favor and subscribe and follow us on Spotify and Apple. Be sure to share it with other business owners who might find it helpful. If you want to dig deeper, contact us at ruinvisibleonline.com. That's capital letter R, capital letter U, followed by invisibleonline.com. Or message us on our LinkedIn business profile with the same title, Are You Invisible Online? The information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be considered professional advice. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and may or may not reflect the official policy or position of WSI Corporate. Always consult a qualified digital marketing expert before making significant changes to your online strategy. Until next time, keep connecting with the people who matter most to your business and join us for our next episode.